comes into play. We're too stupid. If we're not stupid, we can actually do it. I can show you, but I can't show you yet. So we have to go for a new expedition. Yeah, and we can just easily go here. Yeah, the game has been in development for quite some time, and I'm pretty sure it changed quite significantly internally. What I first saw was basically a Borderlands-style looter shooter, but I think it was always meant to be, not always, but for a long time it was meant to be a roguelite. And I think basically the mix of extraction shooter and roguelite here works really well. In general, I think extraction shooters are kind of roguelites, but their core difference usually is like it's a persistent map when it comes to layouts and stuff like that with slight random generation. So I think it's a bit comparable, maybe the most comparable from a visual perspective and feel perspective, maybe to the Hunt Showdown or something like that, right? From Crytek, which also has like kind of the same theme, but it feels very different, right? Do I like this game more than the Hunt? Holy shit, yeah. It doesn't have PvP either, right? So it's a very different game, just from a flair perspective. You could compare it a little bit. Yeah, so all we're doing here is farming the enemies, right? And the most important part is you do have a very good minimap that shows you the enemy locations. You can tell, right? This enemy is easily see the enemy up to very, very far away. And I don't know what actually gray means. Gray might be a chest or something. Yeah, and don't go for the long range stuff, right? Long range is just a waste of time. You're not going to do a lot of damage. I mean, sometimes you might not have a choice, right? But usually you want to go quite close and just like headshot them. Yeah, and once you're I don't know where the fuck we're getting attacked from. Should be an enemy right here. I actually don't know where he is. He might be up there. Oh, there he is. Yeah, should we auto loot bullets from enemies? I actually don't know. Yeah. Okay, but now they're dead. And one thing you might have noticed is that actually the first Mysterium, the buff, is really good. It's like it makes weapons really, really good and can also change completely how they feel. In this case, they just increased the damage significantly. Yeah, we're just gonna take neutral stuff right here, right? We can also unlock new stuff with feathers, but yeah. And do I use the stun ability that much? Actually, I don't think I did too much, right? Actually, if I remember correctly, usually the stun was something I only tried to against stronger enemies, but since it's not a reliable tool in a way that you, I don't know what we can do with this. Since it's not actually a tool you can easily just enable, right? It's not like it's always on and you can turn it on at will. Yeah, so I don't rely too much on it. That basically, I'm the kind of player that doesn't like to use gimmicks to win. I like to win consistently. So usually when there's something that doesn't work always reliably, I try to find a way that does, right. It's like consumables in Souls games. I don't like to use them that much, so I'm kind of, anti. Yeah, melee is really strong, so meleeing enemies when they're close, not bad for sure. Yeah, do not know how they target. Let's find out, right? We're just gonna side strafe here. Oh, these are riflers. They're a bit different. I do think they target your old locations. Some of them. These are pre-firing, right? Yeah, this one doesn't. So I do think walking does. Yeah, they are pre-aiming, but they kind of miss. Right, their aim isn't perfect. You don't need to dodge every individual bullet, right? Which is important because the two ways you can make a game, right? You can make enemies that usually have really good aim and projectiles that pre-fire, or you can make enemies and not pre-aim that lead their shots, right? Or you can have enemies that have really fast projectiles and try to hit your current position, and you have to be permanently moving. So it really depends on what you want. Or you can get have hit scan weapons, and then it's completely scaleless, and you just have to go into cover. Or you make it entirely reaction time based. I mean, we don't have. I mean, just unveil it, right? Yeah, let's go for more elixirs. I mean, I don't know if our melee weapon, a melee hit, counts as something that can be drained. We don't have any spells at the moment, so I don't even know if we could potentially drain anything, right? I do think for the start it's kind of smart to you know, work towards the portal. We could still go back by the way we came in. I mean, we couldn't get there in time, obviously, but yeah. Also, you can sprint in the game. I do not like that the game uses FOV based sprint. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of that, because all it does is basically increase the sense of speed. But it doesn't really, you know, it makes it way harder to tell if how much faster you actually are. It like obfuscates the speed stat a little bit. Yeah, just getting a little bit of potions is always good, but you're not gonna run out of potions usually. As far as I remember, it was kind of easy to get a full stock. Hello? Oh, it didn't die. Wow, that's a surprise. Yeah, sometimes you just want to dash, right? Unfortunately, dashing stops reload, so you can just dash while reloading. Which is a bit different than Souls games, where you can... Not Souls games, than Remnant 2, where you can actually reload and roll. Yeah, and also I would advise to lower the interactions prompt hold time to a minimum. I think it's the game plays really badly if you have to hold the button down for a long time. Actually, I would even think it would be smart for the dev to give you an option to completely disable it. We're dead. Yeah, sometimes we just we completely annihilate it. We got slowed by ice and fucked. I don't know what I was saying, but we can go back and get it back, right? Since the spawns are random though, it might be more difficult than actually... but we can get it back, right? Unless they changed it. Which would be quite the harsh change. No, we died here and there should be our Witchfire, right? We had 8k. Let's see if we actually have 8k. It doesn't seem to have a loadout system where you can risk stuff, right? Like Tarkov something. A lot of extraction shooters use that principle. It doesn't use that, right? As far as I know, you don't invest into a run and then you can lose it or something. Which is a good thing, to be honest, because usually these mechanics are... They do build up tension, but they can become very frustrating and make especially trial and error stuff very annoying at times. I mean, they do hit me. Yeah, they're actually aimbotting. I'm just trying it out here, right? So these guys you do have to manually dodge. Yeah, here I think you have to counter straight them so they don't hit you. We should get this. It was so risky. Did we get it? Oh my god, we didn't get it. Maybe we did, I don't know. It was really scuffed. Okay, I think we got it. It's at minus 8k. Yeah, I didn't know if you could just run over. It's not Dark Souls, right? You can't just scum pick it up. I do know that in Lies of P a lot of people didn't like the delay on the pickup. So I don't know how other people are going to feel about this one, because you just can't go back and easily grab it, right? You do have to fight the enemies that are next to it. But I do actually like that, right? I'm not, you know, not a fan of that. It's like, I really do like it. I do think the game runs appropriate for the visuals. I do think it's maybe slightly too demanding on max settings for what it offers. I don't think it even has ray tracing. I mean, at least I don't know. None of the options imply ray tracing. They could have ray tracing, right? But in general, I think it might not actually have ray tracing. It doesn't have a stupid depth of field implementation, so when you zoom down, right, the entire game doesn't get blurry or anything, so I think leaving depth of field on is perfectly fine. Yes, and I think performance, and I tested all the DLSS modes, right, in 4K, and I think Ultra Performance actually looks amazing. I think they did such a good job with it, right? You can, I mean, we can just turn it on just for fun, since I do think the bitrate is quite good on YouTube. You can see it. No, I'm not gonna fuck with it, but whatever, right? I could turn it on. I don't know, sometimes I have the feeling it bugs out when I change it. But it looks really good. It's like, if you need to play on Ultra Performance on a 4K display, which is 720p, right? Which is a reasonable resolution to play at, to be honest. If you don't care too much about... If you didn't care too much about aliasing. It was reasonable, for example, for the Nintendo Switch or whatever. But here it looks so good. I just wanted to say it's reasonable anyway. There's some... I mean, obviously, I can show you the worst case. Basically, it's really easy. It's like, the worst case is always temporally unstable and high frequency information, right? Oh, that's really good. I'm you know what? Actually, we're noobs. We're gonna take this. We still have to get our souls, by the way, before we can even notice that. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna show you the worst case, right? The worst case is this, right? These things here. Moving trees. I mean, this tree doesn't move that much, to be honest, but yeah, this one is like, this is like the killer difference, right? If you have native resolution, this is going to look way cleaner than when you have DLSS. And that's the only thing you're going to notice a big difference on, if you really look at it, right? And also like foliage that moves and stuff like that, it could, you know, grass and whatever. But actually, to be honest, you know, the grass like that, you don't really notice it too much. But where you do notice it, obviously, is like these trees, right? These trees are like the worst case scenario for DLSS. Yeah, so, I mean, let's fucking demonstrate it. If it breaks, right? Yeah, you can tell right here, for example, just looking at this one, right? You can easily tell that it's low res. But just look at the general image quality. Just look at that. That's 720p. Like, years ago, if someone told me this was 720p, I would have said fuck off, right? I would say that's no way this is 720p. But obviously, as soon as DLSS came out, I was already in deep learning, so I knew the moment they announced it, I knew it was going to be really cool. But I didn't expect it to become this good this fast, right? Just look at this, right? This is basically 720p, right? Like, how is this 720p? I mean, yeah, obviously here you can tell, right? Worst case. This is worst case, right? But in general, the quality you can see here is really good. Just, you know, it's really good. And we can, just for fun, we can go for native here. Right, this is without DLSS 4K native, and obviously it runs way worse, but honestly, does it look way better? No. Right? Obviously these things here, right, they still have like temporal, obviously anti-aliasing stuff going on because the game has TAA, but the higher base resolution definitely helps, right? If we go here to the tree, we can see, right, it doesn't look that shit, right? It still looks kind of shit, to be honest, because it's just like TAA really struggles. This is like the worst case scenario for any moving content, right? But just if you look at it, right, quality, for example, really good, right? Would almost say better, right? Using DLSS actually is almost better. It in my opinion, almost better than native, and it also objectively is better in some scenarios, right? But just the fact that we can actually lower this like to this here, and it doesn't change really how much what it looks like unless you really look at the worst case scenarios, right? And you usually don't notice them too much, right? It doesn't have this weird super low res feel to it either, right? Some games, when you play them at a lower resolution, you immediately know, oh yeah, it's not as crisp anymore. And obviously it's not as crisp anymore, but it's not like a huge deal, right? A few years ago, I think 1 year ago, ultra performance was complete garbage compared to other things. There's a great video demonstrating that. In general, I think, you know, if you have to play on this, you're gonna be perfectly fine, right? Yeah, this is for sure a very, very legit way to play games. Yeah. And obviously I opted for the 1080p version. I do think this is like the best of all worlds. It has great performance, and I would say starting with this resolution, I do feel the smaller details are almost a non-issue, right? I think this is so good that I actually really don't mind the details. And it's always the thing I keep trying to remind people of. I mean, I don't need to as much as before, right? When people were very skeptical about DLSS, and since also AMD for PR reasons shit talked it and everything, like blah blah blah, we only have real images, blah blah bullshit, right? Human algorithms, blah 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 bullshit. And yeah, FSR is still garbage. So I mean, I guess you knew why they were shit talking it, because they couldn't keep up. XeSS is actually better than FSR in many situations. And yeah, these days obviously a lot of people do use DLSS whenever it's available and like it a lot. And it especially made, you know, 4K displays very viable, because you can scale from native to whatever resolution you want without it looking like shit. So it's like a really, really good thing. And frame gen, you know, people are also like, were very dismissive at first, because the purpose of frame gen, I'm going to explain it a little bit here. Can we use it? No. Oh, that's really good. It's random, obviously, what you can unlock there. Yeah, the reason why DLSS frame gen, so generating artificial frames with in between frames, like every second frame basically here you see is fake. I mean, it's fake as something can be that's computed by a PC anyway. And in general, the thing that's kind of special is how OLEDs work. And you might still be on an IPS screen. And IPS screens have a great property for low FPS gaming. And you might say it's great, but actually it's something you could easily obviously fix in software, but a lot of games don't do it. So a lot of people, when they play the first time on an OLED and they're like playing a 60 FPS game, what happens is it feels unsmooth. And why is that? Because the response time of an OLED is so much better that you can see every stuttering, you can see every issue. And the IPS panel basically blurs a lot of shit out and you can't actually see the issue. That's what motion blur does with 30 FPS games on console. It basically hides all the bad visuals, right? It blurs out the information, so your brain is tricked into thinking, hey, that's actually accurate information. I just can see it right, but it must be accurate, right? You can't see the obvious flaws. And yeah, the reason why DLSS frame gen is really powerful is because it can actually help get the frame rates to a higher level that doesn't have that issue in OLEDs. So it's really important in OLEDs to have more FPS for the game to feel even smoother, right? And it feels obviously way better on OLED when you have more FPS, because you can actually see shit, right? So getting these high FPS is really important. So everything like, let's say starting way above 100 is like really good, right? Starting way above 100 is a good start. And I do think DLSS frame gen is the only viable way at the moment, but there is a new technique that's not, it's not new, right? But there's a technique that might come from VR games. No idea what's going on. Oh my god, what's going on here? Oh, we're so dead. But didn't we get our souls? Oh my god, we didn't, right? Oh my god, these guys are fucking assholes. Yeah, I don't like this at all. I shouldn't have reloaded. Yeah, see, that's what I mean. They have more range than you. This weapon looks like it has a lot of range, but it doesn't, right? I can't fight them here, so my only chance is actually to isolate them. Or just to get killed from behind and lose 8k. That's also fine. I like how they show you who killed you. Yeah, we lost quite a bit here. But obviously I wasn't paying too much attention because I was talking about DLSS frame gen. Yeah, but there's a technique called reprojection. So when you look at your screen, obviously it's 2D, right? Your screen is a 2D screen, but the games you're rendering are 3D. So what we do is we project a 3D image to a 2D plane. And via reprojection, what you can do is basically take that 2D image and work with it to get new perspectives without actually having to use a new 3D model in the background. So we basically use the 2D version of the image to recreate fake frames. And I'm going to explain why that works. Because just look how, if I move this, right? This is 3D, but in approximation, everything that's really far away moves really slowly, right? So every object you see here in general, you can see it, right? It feels like still, even if it's close, right? It still feels like it's a 2D object, right? If you don't move around like this, right? This obviously has rotation in it, but usually just moving the camera doesn't result in a 3D rotation, right? It just results in a perspective change. And the perspective change can easily be modeled in a 2D image, which you can see when you look at a 360 phone picture. You can easily see the entire environment by rotation, what is basically a 2D image. So what planar reprojection does is use this 2D plane to calculate all the frames. And you might say, but why do that? Because it's like 10 times more efficient. You could easily hit 1000 FPS in many games, and that's even, and that's the magic. You might say, but it's a visual 1000 FPS. No, that's not true, because you can do input of like frame rate independent input. So you can have an input in the game which is always like 1 ms, and as soon as you can see it, you can react to it. So if you have 1000 images and you have the frame rate independent input, it's not like you have 30 FPS upscaled to, for example, 240 FPS. It's basically like you have 240 FPS. And that technique is used in VR to you know, reduce motion sickness and stuff like that, simulation sickness. Not motion sickness, motion and simulation sickness. And it works really well, and for whatever reason we didn't quite catch on yet on PC, but it seems like a very promising technique. And the cool thing is it can even, like I said, reduce input lag by having a frame rate independent input system that just waits for the next frame to be rendered to react, but not really it doesn't really need a real frame to get the input there. It just needs an image that's going to be drawn. It doesn't have to have a fully calculated frame. So we're going to have less input lag and way better performance if we use it. And it does seem to be very promising to solve this problem also via a more complex AI algorithm. And I could imagine that DLSS, instead of just generating a second frame like it does at the moment, could go towards the direction of actually adding the frame in a different way in addition to that, right? So that we don't get like every second frame is fake, but more like every 10th frame is real, right? So it could change quite significantly. Yeah, I'm pretty interested in that, these kind of things, because it really enables very complex scenes to be rendered. Obviously there's limitations, like I showed, as soon as you get 3D rotation you get more artifacts, right? Because I can quickly show it, right? Yeah, so it's really easy to explain, right? It's super easy to explain. This house here, if I move like this, almost no 3D information is needed. It's like almost a 2D picture of the house would be enough to do this movement. But obviously as soon as I move like this, there are going to be a lot of errors in this assumption, right? Because I suddenly move around this edge here and boom, suddenly you see the banner, right? But if I do this, right? no banner. Perfectly fine information. And I think that really is such an easy concept to grasp too. And the question is, what do you do with these imperfections, right? How relevant are they? And obviously, since humans aren't that fast in the real world, you don't make games where this is like extremely quick, right? On average, this movement here at a 230 FPS we currently have, there is so much time, right? Here you can tell. And also the game doesn't have the weird stuttering issue from Horizon. Yeah, there's so much time, right? There are like 1,000 real frames there. So you have so many frames which you can do good assumptions on between the individual frames. So it's like really good. And I don't think you really have to worry about the artifacts all that much. It's like DLSS, right? If you use DLSS at what it's best at, basically getting you from those mid FPS, like if you have 60 FPS plus, getting you to the 100 FPS, right? That's basically what it's good at. It doesn't really matter at these amount of frames that there are artifacts, right? The thing is, people have a really weird conception of that because they think in terms of AI errors, right? They think, oh, Midjourney, right? I remember Midjourney. When I look at it, oh, they have 5 fingers, right? And then you look at the image and it's one image, it's one frame basically. You look at it and it will never change. The error will remain. But if you look at the average output of a net, not every image is going to have 5 fingers, right? Maybe your picture has it, but on average, maybe only every 2, 3, 5, 10 pictures, depending on how good it is, will have more than 5 fingers, right? Or less or whatever. And on average, maybe the error isn't there, right? So you have one frame that's wrong, but then you have another frame that's right, and your brain is going to remember the right frames automatically. It's not going to assume that people are just randomly growing fingers and stuff like that if it's only for like a really short amount of time. Visually, you'll never perceive it. So all the wrongness in frame generation is actually more of a non-issue. It's not really as relevant. Our visual system is highly likely to ignore the wrongness, and for every wrong frame you have a perfectly correct frame, right? So the base reference is always there. It's not like all the frames are fake and on average they have to be correct. It's like every second frame is correct anyway, right? So your brain is already wired towards the reality. Yeah, so I think it's really cool to have these technologies, and not embracing them is very primitive, right? It's gonna increase the gap so much between AMD and Nvidia if they don't really do a good job with SSR. Yeah, and also, you know, all in software is kind of just, you might say in software is good because everyone can use it, it's open source, blah blah blah. That's all marketing bullshit, right? The reason why it's in software and open source is because less people use it anyway, right? Basically on Nvidia's side, nobody's going to use it, right? It's open source, everybody can use it, yeah, right. But the reason it's open source is because nobody wants it, right? It's like giving away candy and nobody wants your candy. And everybody's like, no, fuck candy, I don't like it. And Nvidia basically has really good candy everybody wants, but is not giving it away because he knows it's the best candy, right? But the reason Nvidia doesn't give it away, obviously, is because they put a lot of money in it and effort. It's their good right to not give it to everyone, but also because it's, unlike AMD, extremely reliant on the hardware, right? And that's I think, oh my god, we're so bad. Yeah, that's a really important distinction here, I think, is the fact that actually frame generation really needs the, you know, the CPU architecture to actually work in an efficient way. And FSR will struggle with that a lot, right? Because doing everything in software is not optimal, because obviously specialized hardware, this sucks ass, man. This area here, fucking suck my dick, man. Holy shit. Yeah. Yeah, but basically, God. These enemies are so obnoxious, because here they all outrange me, right? So yeah, but in general, I think the most important part is to realize that AMD might actually be just kind of doing the wrong calls. I mean, they realize it, obviously, right? They know But don't fall for the marketing bullshit. You know, DLSS is great, FSR is in theory also really good, and also FrameGen is really good. All these technologies are really, really important, right? And there will be a lot of other technologies. Oh my god, I'm gonna fucking die again. Jesus Christ, oh my god. There will be a lot of other technologies that are gonna get pushed, right? And you will see a lot of marketing bullshit around them from AMD, because there is not only FrameGen, right? There's so much more coming. Neural rendering is on the move, right? And Nvidia is by far the strongest company when it comes to AI stuff. So they will have a huge advantage compared to... Fuck me, man. Yeah, they will have a huge advantage compared to AMD. Like, it's not even close, right? So you will see a lot of people that are team red and are like team green, and I'm honestly on the side of whoever has the better tech. I don't care if it's Nvidia or AMD. You know, the best company may win. And you will hear so much bullshit. Oh, I've got an AMD, it's so good, blah blah blah. Yeah, it's not bad obviously, but it's way worse than AMD, than an Nvidia. And let alone that if you want to go high end, there is not even competition, right? It's like literally they don't even try to compete with Nvidia anymore because they can't, right? There's nothing like a 4090 from AMD, right? And it's like really, really bad for competition, obviously. So I really would like AMD to get their shit together. But if everybody, you know, just keeps buying bullshit, like, you know, not caring about anything, AMD is never going to be as good, right? If people still buy shit, even though it's shit, for a price that isn't even that low, I don't know, man. It just doesn't help the market, right? But that's consumer, just uninformed consumers buying stuff. So I get it, right? Not everybody is an engineer or a scientist who can actually works in that field. Even if you're an engineer and a scientist, you might actually not know about these things, right? You might have studied biology or whatever, so you are really proficient in other things. But yeah, it's really, really difficult at times to... Yeah, and by the way, the game didn't get easier. So if you thought the game got easier, don't worry, it's still the same game. An endless onslaught of enemies that want to fuck you in the ass. God, oh my god. Yeah, elixirs are so valuable. Yeah, where is my fucking shit, man? We did get I don't know what I'm doing, man. Obviously I'm gonna die. Oh my god, we're so fucked. Where is my shit? Oh my god, where is it? Where did I die? Did I die right here? Maybe we didn't die and we lost everything? Maybe we did actually. Oh my god, we're dead again. Yeah, I think we don't have anything. Wait, safe reload is really, really lasts forever, or we do? Why is it active? Yeah, we need to get the fuck out of here. The thing is, we need to kill the enemies for that to happen, right? Yeah, I don't think we're actually going to be able to easily get out here. The portal is right next to us, but yeah, that's not an enemy. We need to run, right? I'm worried about an enemy pushing me. Well, 10 seconds. We can just camp here. Opium. No, we can't. Yeah, we made it, but that was not a good run. We didn't get a lot of loot, and we permanently got fucked by the enemies. Yeah, so the limited range on the weapons is what makes these encounters pretty AIDS. But the good news is, obviously, we're gonna get tools to deal with them that aren't related to the weapon. So Yeah, I think starting at 20, you do start to see diminishing returns on the stats, I think. So I think 20 is a good start here. I mean, I do want to push it further, to be honest. But it doesn't make us stronger, right? And as you can see, we're struggling pretty hard. Right. Are we level 7? Really? What's our level, man? Level 6. One more level until we can get stronger. Yeah, so at the moment, the only way to get stronger is to get the one level, right? We can't get new gear, we can't get anything, so... And also we took the hardest starting class, so... Struggle is by design. I actually don't know if the game actually does a good job at explaining that in-game. Basically, I stumbled upon it by reading their blog about the update, that this class is meant to be the hard mode. But if you don't read the description, you don't have a description in-game that actually hints at that, to be honest. Yeah, and the incentive, by the way, where you want to stay longer, obviously, is because you're going to get stronger while you play, right? You're going to get upgrades by killing enemies. So towards the end, you should be a bit more able to kill more enemies efficiently and thus get more currency. Yeah, I don't know where the sanity bar is. Maybe, oh shit, maybe it's not. The game doesn't display it unless you are insane. The Witchfire shards, wait, they might actually be something you put in your inventory, wait. Oh right, this is like in Souls, right, when you have these permanent upgrades, basically. Not upgrades, right, the permanent, you know, the souls basically you can pick up, right? Soul of an undead, whatever, and you know, boss souls and stuff like that. And it's basically currency you can't lose, right? So you do always make progress even if you die permanently. Which is nice, right? It's really, and also the thing I think the game doesn't do a good job of, as far as I know, is these things here, the keys and the feathers, I think they are not permanent. So you don't know exactly what's going to be taken away from you. Yeah, so I think this is permanent, all of this is permanent. This you can lose when you die, right? But you can get back, and that is not permanent. So I think they should actually, you know, put a marker on it, or you know, add two categories. It's really easy to tell what's going on, right? I do think it's kind of confusing. You don't know what's happening. Because, you know, I'm all for figuring out stuff yourself, but like these things which are not really logical because you don't know as a player why something gets taken away or if it gets taken away, that should be explained, right? Everything that's like not intuitive or something you would expect to be something you need to figure out, right? Yeah, this area is way easier. The reason why it's way easier is because this features a lot of cover and you can get really close to the enemy. I do think we should be close to finishing this area though, before we go to the next one. Yeah. Non-automatic weapons, I mean, that would be quite good. Yeah, the upgrade's quite significant, to be honest. I mean, is it really good? Does it change our time to kill? I mean, it does change our time to kill. But I don't feel our issue was that the gun wasn't shooting quick enough. Yeah, the reload on this gun for sure is like very, very long. Yeah, and you can unlock the same tier also for feathers if you want to. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting, right? That you can actually oh, interesting. That's new, the Gnosis stuff, like something I've not seen yet. This is something we can unveil on the base, only costs 5k. We should probably also do that, but at the moment I'm more focused on unlocking the mirror. Yeah, and I do think you still need to kill every single enemy in an area to... What? Yeah, you still need to kill all of the enemies in the area to actually get the loot. So I don't think we should go here. Oh wait, we just got one, yeah, right. So the next area we're gonna fight is here. I think the glow basically indicates that it's extremely dangerous, which usually happens. Actually, it could be really annoying. I don't know if we should go there. Yeah, you just need to dodge before they shoot. You have a big dodge window. Yeah, reloading with this weapon. Oh, was that a merchant? Maybe we fought them already like 100 times and I didn't read the name. I mean, do you need the names above the enemies? That's a good question, actually. I mean, I do like the HP bar, but do we need the names? Could we turn them off if we don't like them? Can only turn on the health bars. Can't turn on the name. I mean, it's not annoying. It's just something quite interesting that they actually add the names of the enemies too. I mean, maybe it helps for certain. I don't know. Maybe it helps for online discussions if you want to know what you killed. What the fuck are you doing, bitch? Yeah, since everything cancels reloading is actually quite a pain in the ass. They do have friendly fire on their death AoE. Ja, ne? Was eigentlich mittlerweile? Soll ich fragen? Wait, no ammo? Yeah, welcome to hell. Wait, actually no ammo is kind of pretty bad. Seriously? There is an ammo chest right there, but... Yeah, and here we can now use the sprint. I'm not the biggest... I don't know, I just think it's not an game design issue. It's actually more of an input design issue. I think, I don't know, I just don't like having a dash, a crouch, and a sprint. And a jump. I can't collect it. Where's the other one? Okay, well, we're just gonna use it so we can get both of them. Sure. Lens. No. Yeah, we can still go for the ammo chest. Yeah, I still think it's like one control input too much. So I don't know, either make dash enable sprint or something, right? So I think the best way to go about it would be to like this, you know, dashing here also starts sprinting, right, or something. I don't know, but just like it kind of feels annoying to have an additional button for sprinting. Then you could say, yeah, sure, but just, you know, unmap crouch or whatever, but it's just like so annoying to have. It's not easily accessible, right? And the problem is when you dash, you want to be able to dash in all cardinal directions. So that also, you know, comes as a negative, so yeah, just dodging them beforehand was the correct move. And we do want to kill them, right? Because we're gonna get a big bonus if we manage to kill them. Oh, you can't dash in the air. Really? Oh, you can. There's no air dash. Maybe you unlock it later. Yeah, and sorry if I sound a little bit low energy. It's not because the game's not fun, but because I can't talk too well. Yeah, it's especially after taking a little break from talking that talking becomes a bit more annoying. Yeah, I mean strafing while ADSing is not that important, to be honest. I mean it is, but it's not like, you know, I'm like super game changer or anything. Okay, we do have to go here. The waypoint is kind of nice. I do like they didn't go for a radar, but just a minimap. Radars are just worse minimaps. The border of the minimap basically is like a radar, right? So, or a compass, whatever you want. Yeah, we're just gonna try to go there. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to go past the one area. And also the sprint FOV change. I really don't like it. Yeah, FOV changes in games should be limited to the absolute minimum. Yeah, no, I really don't like it. Especially if you already play at a higher FOV, it's like, why would you even increase it, right? I mean, I'm not playing at an insanely high FOV, right? Oh my. I'm not playing at an insanely high FOV, but you would think, right, with Elden Ring being a thing, the gamers are up for more challenges, but the reality is Elden Ring is so easy at times that people think they're good now, right? And then when a game actually becomes challenging, people are like, oh, it's so unfair, blah blah blah, Elden Ring wasn't this hard, blah blah blah. Like, Elden Ring is not a difficult game, so I mean it is challenging, right? For sure, but it's not difficult. You didn't get good just because you beat it. Depends on how you beat it, right? If you beat it naked with a really bad weapon, then you're really good, right? If you beat it with an OP fucking double sword build, jump attacking like a fucking retard, not to throw shades at like 90% of the streamers I watched while playing the game, you could be good, right? But we don't know because you're using the fucking most OP shit in the game, right? So, I mean, which is obviously also magic and not melee, but still, right? I mean, magic not in general, right? It's not Dark Souls 1 level magic, but still, I don't think, right? You should think every game should be easy now that you beat Elden Ring, right? Way the more difficult games. I mean, let's unveil it. Oh, that was really bad. I mean, we do have a lot of elixirs on the ground. But at the end, you know, I do know that people want to feel good at games and blah, and they want to, you know, have fun and feel powerful, whatever. And that's why I do think the difficulty sliders are good. in some games. Not in all games, right? Not every game must be playable by everyone. I mean, are we gonna make games which are one button only because there are people that are only able to press one button at the same time? Obviously not, right? I mean, not every game has to be like that, but obviously it's really cool if there are games that are playable with one button, and if the game is in general open to a difficulty slider or whatever. I think it's a really, really good idea to add it. There are just some games where I think difficulty doesn't work. And that's not because I think it should be hard or whatever. I think games like Souls games don't work if they're easy. The combat system is completely primitive, right? It's dodge and hit, right? It's so primitive. And if you don't have to dodge anymore, you're taking away 50% of the inputs. And then if you make it super easy, then suddenly you just click, 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 right? It's boring, right? Elden Ring with no difficulty is boring as fuck. If the game would allow you to just play it like, I don't know, a game on easy mode where you don't have to do any inputs, it would be one of the worst games ever made, actually. I think it would still have some merit from a visual perspective, but the gameplay would completely be gone. And only people who don't, who aren't good at these games, think it's a good idea, right? They think, oh, if only it was easier, I would enjoy it. No, you wouldn't. The game would be shit. It would be a shit game. Everybody would not enjoy it. I mean, some would still, but most wouldn't, right? Yeah, that's what the people don't get. Some games live by their rules, right? And not enforcing some rules can make games really boring. And Elden Ring is definitely a game, in Souls games in general, right? Are games where the difficulty, at least at some base level, is important. Like I said, I don't think it's a difficult game, but I do think it has a good base difficulty that makes you care about the game mechanics, right? And that's the most important thing. If it didn't have that, it would be fucking dog shit, man. I mean, obviously there are Souls games that also have difficulty sliders, for example Remnant or something, but the base difficulty is high enough, right? That's the point. The base difficulty is high enough. The peak difficulty can be super high, and obviously it's way higher than in Elden Ring or Souls games often when you have difficulty sliders, because then the devs go crazy, right? But in general, I think it's not it's not really an issue, right? You could add difficulties to Elden Ring, right? But just make them harder, not easier. Like, seriously, it's much easier and the game would become a complete joke. It already is often, right? So I really, really think it would be a terrible, terrible idea to make it easier. And obviously you could argue, and that's the point I do get, and I know why it's not done, and it's really difficult to do. You could enable accessibility options, like literally one button Elden Ring, and I think that's a great idea. The problem is it will ruin the experience for many other people who don't have the integrity to not click that button because they suck at the game. Literally, you would add a cheat to the game and people would ruin their experience. So the problem is I am for these things, but I do know how people are. People always take the easy way out and they will ruin their experience. And then they will write, oh, the game is so shit, what a stupid, primitive, blah, 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 just because they click the button, right? Yeah, I think it's really, really difficult as a dev to add an option there. And especially the Souls community. Oh, it's closed again. I didn't know that. Especially the Souls community is very, very, loud about these things, right? They're like, oh no, don't make our game easier, blah, blah, blah. I think that's bullshit, obviously, because you could add difficulties, just not easier ones. But in general, what I think is a lot of people think the games are hard, and that's why they think it's their core essence. I don't think the games are hard. I think they have a good base level of difficulty, which enforces the gameplay rules. So you have to play the game instead of just turning off your brain and left clicking the entire time, right? That's basically all it is. And yeah, a lot of stupid elitists think the difficulty is what makes Souls games good, but it's not the maximum, it's not this peak difficulty, right? It's not how difficult the game is, it's just like how challenging the game is. It has a fair amount of base challenge, but it's not like difficult. Yeah, so that's the main point, right? And obviously comparing it to other games that have no challenge and literally no difficulty makes it seem very difficult comparatively, and that's true, but it doesn't mean the game still is difficult, right? Not like the one thing has anything to do with the other. It's just like, yeah, it's not like, oh my god, don't make our games easier, blah blah blah. More like